Hello, everyone. Welcome to another Higher Self Hypnosis session. I have my lovely client Belinda here, and she has agreed to allow this to go on social media for the benefit of sharing with everyone else. So, any wisdom her higher self gives, she can share with you, and hopefully that'll help you in your life because when one of us heals, we heal the entire planet. So, I love this. So we're going to just pretend the camera is not on anymore. This is part one where I'm going to get to learn all about you so that when you're under hypnosis, I know which direction to take the questions and the follow-up questions. That's really the important part. So we'll set the intention. We might as well just do it right now. Let's set the intention, Belinda. The past life that we're going to look at, which is going to be the first thing we're going to look at once you're under this afternoon, is going to be a life that is relevant in some way to the life that you're living now. It has some beneficial message for you right now. So we're setting that intention. It always happens, but I say it doesn't hurt to set the intention, right? So you told me where you live. You told me how old you are, so you don't need to repeat that. So this is where you get to start either where you're at right now in life and go backwards, telling me, or some people find it easier to start where when they were younger about mom and dad growing up, brothers, sisters, relationship with mom and dad, and go forward. Just significant events, things that impacted you or shaped you, who you are. And if I don't feel like you're giving me enough information about a particular area, or particular relationship,
Mhm.
I will ask you to pause and then ask you to go into it a little bit more. So start when you were young or start now, whatever you prefer.
Okay. I guess let's start at the beginning.
Okay.
So my family is an interesting family. It's a blended family, but it's like a blended family.
Okay.
So both my parents were previously married.
Okay.
They both had children. They got married to each other, and I was the only child that they had together.
Ah, you're the special one.
And
Okay.
I'm the only girl. So
Okay.
I do have four other brothers.
You have four other brothers, so each of them had two, or how did that work?
So and that's where the blended comes in. So
Okay.
my mom had a son in a previous marriage. My dad had two sons in their previous marriage. And then along the road, my family also did foster care for dozens of kids. And one of the kids we had for a very long time, I mean, I call him my brother, but when they say, how many brothers do you have? He's counted in. We even went to the extent of attempting to adopt him. And the county actually said that he was too old to adopt. He was only 15 at the time, and they said he was too old. So it was strange.
Did they ever go back and adopt him after he was an adult and could make that decision on his own?
At that point, I mean, he's family.
Oh, okay. Okay, got it.
He's family. So I mean, he calls my parents mom, dad. You know, it is what it is.
So your parents, did they do foster care before they got married together?
No.
Or that was their thing they did together? Okay.
That came later. Oh gosh, I want to say we started foster care when I was 10.
Okay.
So it was definitely after.
Well, that was interesting having foster kids in and out, I bet.
Oh yeah, lots of stuff.
Yeah, lots of stories.
So at a younger age, we did move a little bit. Moved from Minnesota to Colorado, back to Minnesota. I grew up pretty much in the same town once we came back to Minnesota. I was pretty young. I think I was 3 when we moved back to Minnesota. Every home that I remember that we ever lived in, extremely active as far as like energy, spirits, that sort of thing.
Okay. Tell me what you mean by that.
So my first experience that I recall, my mom said I was 18 months, 2 months, around that age. And I explained to her what happened. And I was really sick. And like a person came in to like comfort me. And I told her what it was. And my mom was completely shocked because I explained the room. I explained who the person was. And she's like, I have no, like, I don't know who that is, but that's your room that you had when you were that age. I'm like, okay, don't know what that's supposed to be. And then when I was about three or four, I saw my first like I don't know, spirit, I guess you would say, but I had no idea what it was. I knew what a skeleton was, but I didn't know what spirits were. And I woke up and they were swirling. There was two of them and they were swirling, like looking at me above me. And so I screamed that there were skeletons on my ceiling because I didn't know what they were, but that sounded good to me. And I still to this, I vividly recall what they look like to this day.
Wow.
Yeah. And so ever since then, it's been kind of a nonstop. It wasn't until I was probably like early teens that I really realized what everything was. But no, like every single house that I lived in, I was very much, I would say, targeted almost. Like,
Do you feel like they were ever like not in your best not having your best interest in mind, or
oh
were
yeah,
they kind of harmless and just there?
oh no, there were
Oh.
definitely ones that were tormenting. Definitely,
Oh.
definitely. And it was kind of interesting because as we got older, my brothers started kind of opening up and talking about some of their experiences too. And like one particular house that we grew up in, it wasn't until it was actually this last summer that one of my older brothers is like, oh my God, like I absolutely hated that house. And then my other brother that was in the room chimed in. He's like, I absolutely hated that house too. It's like, it was an evil house. And I'm like, it was an evil house. Like, it was terrible.
And that was in Minnesota or that was in
Yeah,
Colorado?
in
That,
Minnesota.
okay.
It was the first lake house that we moved into in Minnesota. I mean, it was awful, absolutely
Wow.
awful. And then the house that we pretty much grew up in, it was super active, super active. It was old lodge, so it was uh, it was an active lodge in the early 1900s. It had like cabins and stuff associated to it. Um, Before that, it had burned down like once or twice. It'd been rebuilt a couple times, burnt down once or twice after that, been rebuilt a couple times.
Wow.
Turned into a legion after that. Then it eventually got converted into like a house. So, I mean, there's a lot of stuff. Um, the one of the crazy things, and the house itself definitely had its own spirit to it. Um, so in the house, there was a bar because there was a lodge. Of course, it's going to have a bar. At some point in time, the bar was taken out, to the ages. My mom was in town looking for a bar because she wanted to restore the bar space. Went into a store she had never been into before. It was like a consignment shop. And she just asked them, like, do you ever have, large bars that come in here? They're like, no, we never have large bars. And she's like, okay, here's my contact info. If you ever get one, let me know. She goes and she's like looking, at the clothes and stuff in the consignment store. A woman walks in like 5 minutes later and asks the lady if they ever do consignments on large bars. And she goes, I have a bar from the old Johnson Lodge. We lived in the old Johnson Lodge.
Oh my gosh.
So, yeah. And my mom heard this and she's like, what? The old Johnson Lodge? Like, so the old bar came back to the house.
Okay, so I got to know for my curiosity, did the consignment store want their cut?
They're like, you do
You guys work it out?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
That is amazing. Wow.
Yeah. So it was crazy. So I mean, everywhere I've been, everywhere I live, I always have spirits, energies, things coming and going all around me.
You want to ask about that?
Yes, I
Yeah.
definitely do.
It'd be super fun to ask about, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
A
so, and
little
then when we
bit.
were, hold
Okay.
on, when we were offline, before
Mhm.
I started recording, you were telling me about a dream
Mhm.
that you have had repeated, well, not repeatedly, a couple times, where after people have died in your life, well, grandma died and a friend died, and you went to this place that felt
That I
like a
got kicked
cocktail
out of.
party. Yeah, that you kept getting kicked out of because you weren't supposed to be there,
Yes.
apparently.
Yep.
So do you want to ask about that place
Yes.
where you saw that your grandma after she passed there, you
Hmm.
saw your dad there, even though he didn't even pay any attention to you,
Yep.
and then you saw your friend who hugged you and greeted you and was like, "Oh
Hmm.
my gosh, Belinda."
Hmm.
Okay, so let's add those two things. Okay, so she told me that ever since she was very young, she has been around a lot of spiritual slash ghost activity, and not all of it was necessarily felt like they were of the light or had good intentions. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay. Um, what can you tell us about this? And there'll be a lot of follow-up questions to that. I
Hmm.
just don't know where it's going to go, right?
Yeah.
And then she had the same dream a couple of times. Um, once after her grandmother died, and once after a friend of hers died, where she was in a white room um, that had a lot of activity and felt like a cocktail party type of thing. And she saw her dad there, her grandma there, and then later her friend there, but was then told to leave and that she could not be there by a man in a tuxedo, right?
Hmm. Yeah, I got bounced right on out.
By a spiritual bouncer.
He was nice the second time. Like he was like, okay, you get it. Like, all right.
A man in a tuxedo. What in the world, in the non-world, what was that place? What can you tell us about that? And then whatever follow-up questions come from that, I don't know.
Hmm. No, I
Um,
mean it was a neat place. Like there weren't any like nobody was like sobbing or crying or anything like that. I was chatting, kind of having a good
so
time. And
isn't there like a song, No More Tears in Heaven, or There'll Be No Tears in Heaven, or something like that? Like it just popped into my head. Yeah, there's no tears in heaven. Okay.
mm,
Oh, and then you told me that last
yes,
night, she felt like she was being squished down
yes,
into her bed, like something was preventing her from leaving her body while she slept. Is that right?
yeah.
What was that about? And then, kind of a follow up to there, you said you feel like you travel a lot when you're sleeping.
Hmm.
What does her soul do while her body is sleeping at night? Um, is it astral traveling or something, excuse me, something else? And if traveling, where does she go and what does she normally do? If there's a normal, right?
Hmm.
Um, Super curious questions. I love those are the fun ones. Okay. All right. So let's go back to your life. Okay.
Yes. So
Continue
those
on.
are kind of the houses. And then, of course, after that, going to like on the home aspect, going to like colleges, living in apartments, things like that. Always terrible. always absolutely terrible for energy, spirits, things like that, coming and going. Just
So it always seemed like it was not friendly energy or not positive
not always.
energy?
No, not always. It's just like it's constant, constant. Like
Oh.
it's, um, and I'll talk a little once I get kind of through like the background stuff. I'll talk more about those experiences too.
Okay, yeah, let's
Um,
do that because I'll be curious to know, is it things you just felt or things you saw?
mm,
Okay, so keep going.
okay, so family wise, so I have, so my dad passed away 8-ish years ago, 8.5 years ago, 2013, summer of 2013,
Okay.
from brain cancer. And so that was, that was fairly quick when it happened. And that kind of goes into after he passed away, it was quite a while before I was able to have any sort of connection to him. But I anticipate part of it was he was kind of putting himself back together.
Okay,
Like
hold on.
after,
What do you mean by that?
which part?
It was after he died that you say that again? I'm
Having
trying
any
to understand.
connection with him?
Yeah, so when he was alive. Okay, let's go back and talk to about when you were growing up with him first. So you kind of
Oh,
kind of paint the picture for me. What was it like
um,
growing up with dad? What was he like to you?
awesome. Absolutely awesome. Um,
Did you say awesome?
yeah.
Oh, okay, okay.
Mhm. No, just totally awesome. I definitely had a different relationship with my dad than my brothers, mainly because um, all like my brothers from that he had, so his two sons and myself, we all have an inherited anger gene, I would say, from his
Okay.
side. Um, I've done a ton of work over the years, so I've reined mine in. So instead of unleashing it, mine's constructive. At this point in time, when I was younger,
Okay.
not so much. Um, but the biggest difference growing up was if my dad would get angry about something, my brothers would kind of like shut down, where I would go head to head with my
Uh,
dad. And so that kind of like it built a different relationship with my dad and myself, where I don't know, it wasn't that like we were like buddies, but it was like we had a different dynamic where it's like both of us, we could tell each other very much like, hey, you're being dumb. Like, what's going on? And just be very transparent with each other about anything. And neither of us would get mad about being transparent about it. And so
okay.
we just had a very different relationship
Okay.
than my brothers. Um, it was kind of interesting because, like, even when my dad was alive, he had even said, he's like, out of all the kids, I know I don't have to worry about you. Like,
Uh,
you got it. And so after he passed away, I know it took him some time to get like everything together because of the brain cancer when he passed. It's like everything's kind of jumbled. Um, but I also know he didn't necessarily like contact me right away because I'm not the one that he was worried about.
okay.
So, um, so at the time that like I went to that space,
Uh-huh.
he was still kind of piecing everything together. It wasn't until
What do you mean by piecing everything together? I guess that's what I didn't understand
like
when you said that earlier.
I don't think when he passed away, I don't think he kind of fully realized like that he had, I know he knows he passed away, but I think he had a lot of stuff he had to work through
Okay.
with that and with like coming to terms with a bunch of stuff before he could like make any like connections. Um, and so when I saw him in those two spaces, I can like, I mean, it was like I wasn't offended, when there wasn't a connection when I saw him there.
Okay.
It was like I could tell like he was still like processing everything, and he just wasn't to that point yet
Okay.
of being able to connect. But it was over a year after he passed away that he actually came to me, and he's like, and we didn't have a whole lot of a big conversation, but the one thing he said to me is, I'm back. I'm back.
Sounds like the Terminator.
Yeah.
I'm back.
Yeah.
Or I'll be back, right?
Yeah. But I'm like, oh my, like, holy shit, you're back. And he's like, yes, I'm back. I'm like, so you're good? Like, you're good? He's like, yes. Like, he like got it. He worked it all out. He's complete again. I'm like, awesome, like good. And so I've seen him a couple times since then, but it's really, again, he came to me at one point and he's like, because I asked him, I'm like, why haven't you run around? He's like, because I don't have to worry about you. I'm like, thanks, but you could still come around.
Like, say hi.
Yeah.
Right.
So yeah, so that was.
How long ago was it that he said that he's back? You said about a year after he died?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
It was like a year,
Okay.
year and a half after he passed
And have
away.
your brothers said anything about, I mean, do they see spirits too? Have they said anything about, oh, I talked to dad last night, or I've seen dad, or anything like that, or no? Or your mom?
My oldest brother is, he, he says he's a non-believer, but the more I talk to him, the more I feel like he's just like kind of trying to like deny his own past experiences.
Okay.
My second to oldest brother, he's seen stuff. He's acknowledged like weird stuff happening in his own home. He has not seen my dad. My next oldest brother he's seen stuff in the house, the main house that we grew up in. He saw stuff there. And I just found out this last summer when he opened up about it. My sister-in-law saw my dad. Like he came to her, and he's always been kind of worried about her, so that makes sense. My mom has seen stuff. She's seen him. She hasn't said like how they've communicated. I'm trying to think if anybody else has said anything about seeing my dad. My husband has. My husband's actually seen my dad way more than I have, and those two were really close. Like they were buddies. Like my dad really, really liked him. So,
Interesting. Okay.
yeah.
So, but you had a good upbringing from dad, like
Yeah.
other than the anger.
Yeah, and
So,
I mean it was kind of interesting because like as we get older, the siblings, talk more about like growing up and stuff. My brothers always felt like they got yelled at, and like my dad was never a physical person by any means. He was never a name caller, nothing like that.
okay.
He was like if the dishes weren't done, he was like the yelling, why aren't the dishes done? Like type anger.
Mm-hmm.
So it wasn't anything like taking down somebody's character,
Okay.
anything like that. So it was like you trip over a bike and you swear loud enough for the neighborhood to hear you type anger. So it wasn't, I mean, both my mom and my dad were extremely supportive of all of us kids. Always, even if it was some weird random thing that we wanted to do, they were always extremely supportive. They were always, if we felt like we couldn't do something, they're always right there to be like, okay, well, you can do it if you want to do it. Let's try this. What if you did this? We're here to support you. So it was always like that. So I think it's very interesting that my brothers always felt like they got yelled at all the time, where I got yelled at probably just as much, but I had a different experience because I yelled back.
Right.
So it was very interesting, a dynamic. But yeah, it's like I said, it wasn't anything, the anger wise, it wasn't any sort of making people feel bad, bringing down a character, anything like that. It was very much, why didn't you do your chores? Type thing.
Okay, so mom, tell me about mom. And well, first of all, let's stick to dad for 1 second. How did it impact you when he passed?
It was interesting.
Right. That's okay. If you need to get a Kleenex or something, go ahead. Don't worry about it. We got some pain still there, so maybe we can have higher self look at that too, right?
I think it's he was like my sounding board for things. So I think that's part of what it is. He also like grounded my mom. Like my mom's a free spirit. She always has been. But he definitely, I won't say he kept her in line, because that sounds harsh.
Right.
But he definitely, he brought perspective to things, and he grounded, like she was the balloon and he was the string. Like, okay, I'll hold on to you so you don't fly away. So you can still be up there. And so I think part of it is like, I don't know. She seems very different. Like, when I say different, I mean, like, I think she has like her own struggle. But I mean, she's found a new person, which is great. He's a great guy.
And you know what? I'll just say this. A lot of times when the spouse who passes, they stay around, which it sounds like your dad has done. They stay around and watch their family and want to watch over and take care of the family. They actually try to work behind the scenes and send energy the way of the former spouse to have them find someone else.
Well, they talked about it before he passed away.
Yeah,
like,
yeah, they
and
do.
Even
They do that.
even conversations before he was sick, like they were very clear. Like, if something were ever to happen to either of them, move on, find new love. Like, no, I think a lot changed. Like after my dad.
Like what?
Like, a big thing is like the family home is gone. Like, so that in itself was huge.
What do you mean, you guys, like your mom sold it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. And why was that? She couldn't be in the same house anymore, or what?
Finances.
Okay.
So, yeah. So like, the house is gone. So that, yeah, I think that was kind of like, don't know. I think that was part of like the big thing. Because it's like you have a parent that you're so close to, and then you have your family home.
You lost them both.
Yeah. So.
Okay, so let's have higher self work on that. So you had a double loss. You really did, right?
Yeah. I mean,
Um,
it's like it's reactive to talk about because I'm feeling the feelings I felt then. And it is a sad situation. And I know other people go through it a lot. It sucks. It really does. But I mean, over the years, you start to learn about, home isn't just one place. And so it's like learning that and dealing with that, and yeah, the memories are still there. All that's still there. The connections are still there. I think another piece that, so like a few years after that, I think it was like 3 years after that, somebody came through and actually tore down the house. So like a house that had been there since, I think the original was built in the late 1800s. So yeah, somebody came through, tore everything out. And not just the house, I mean everything. And just
the cabins and yeah.
Everything's gone.
Yeah, I totally relate because my aunt she owned a similar thing and a developer bought it because it was on a lake. A developer bought it and came and wiped it all out and put condos on it.
Yep.
Yeah, she was really sad about that.
Yeah.
So. Yeah. Oh, okay. I put a question down to see if we can get some healing from that. Just like a coating of golden light over your heart or something like that, right?
But I mean, one of the things is his passing kind of helped me look at myself and kind of like what I'm doing and how I can make myself better, how I can connect more, how I can like clear space for things to like help. So it definitely it changed me in a lot of ways, and I would say for the better. So even though it really sucks, really sucked, there's a lot of good that came out of the processing of it. But no, that whole year really sucked. So it was I'm trying to think of like, that was the first year that like I had a lot of death at one time.
Because you said first your grandma died and then, or no, who died first?
No.
Your dad?
So actually, so in that year, so we had two friends named John that died in a year time frame. So it was March, April that our younger friend John passed away from brain cancer. My dad passed away from brain cancer, same kind of brain cancer, in July. Then it's going to sound weird, but I'm going to throw it in there. My amazing cat that I got, my first like cat by myself that I got, had a weird condition. He was the only living cat with Cushing's in the United States. And it was literally the day before he was getting admitted to a special research program because he was the only living cat with Cushing's. We had to put him down. And then a month later, his sibling had to be put down. And then a month later, my grandma passed away. And then 2 months later, our other friend John died.
And then your dad was how long after that?
He was the second person that year to die.
Oh, okay. So wait, we had grandma or dad first?
So it was our younger friend John, and then
Okay.
my dad, and then our 2 cats, like back to back. That was
Okay.
weird.
Okay. Okay.
And then my grandma, and then our older friend John.
Okay. Wow. That was all in 2013?
Mm-hmm. Well,
Oh,
it started in 2013, and then like rolled into the beginning of.
okay.
So it was like spring of 2013 to spring of 2014.
2014. Yeah, that was a tough year-ish, a little over a year. Oh my gosh. Wow.
So it was a lot.
Yeah.
It was interesting though. Like I said, there was a lot of learning, a lot of growth, a lot of connecting with a lot of people through that time.
Yeah. Wow. Okay, so tell me about mom. You said you
Yes.
told me
Oh,
about
sorry.
that she's a free spirit but let's talk a little bit more about mom growing up.
So she's definitely a free spirit. She's an ex-Marine. And she joined the Marines out of spite of my grandma. So she's feisty. She's definitely she will go to bat for her kids, for her grandkids. The one thing that I've noticed over the years though is that she started to become way more passive than what she ever has before. Okay. And so that's a strange change. And that started after my dad passed away.
Oh, okay.
So it's one of those like weird things where like historically she had never been really passive before. She was always like take the fight to the streets.
Okay.
Type of person. Where now it's I don't know if it's just because she's getting older or what. But growing up, her and I would go head to head many times. We do have a good relationship. And I was a very difficult child, I would say. I own it. I know I was. I knew it in the moment that I was difficult. And so my mom would often say between the ages of 11 and 16, if a circus came to town, I would have tried to sell you to it. Like it was, I was, oh.
You tested your mom.
Every minute of the day. And my dad too. I mean, I was not an easy child at all. Very headstrong. I'm still headstrong. What am I talking about? But when you're growing up and you're a kid and you're sitting there and you're yelling that you're so angry and you don't even know why you're angry, like, you can't really do a whole lot with that. And so it's just I had so much fight in me during those years. I mean, I mellowed out, but holy buckets. Like I was so angry and I didn't even know why I was so angry. It was like,
and you feel like that's all gone, or can you like drop on a dime and just get super angry still?
I've gotten a lot better. Like I
I
do
mean,
get
I
it.
guess my question is, if there's any of that left, do you want to ask what's the cause of it and what can we do to not be that way? To not have that as something you have to worry about or deal with, like if your higher self can do something about it, or if there's something you can do, or do you feel like
Um,
it just doesn't not it's not really an issue?
I'd say it's not as I don't say it's not an issue anymore for me. I catch it and I'm like, okay. And
Uh-huh.
it's like the conversation of like, why am I getting frustrated by this? Okay.
Got it.
Like,
So you're really conscious and aware of it. Got
yeah.
it. Okay. Awesome. Okay. So
So
what's your relationship like with mom now?
um it is different. Like as the years have gone on, it's different. It's still pretty good.
Hmm.
But it's definitely different. It feels like I've switched roles though, where it's I've now become more of the mom. So it's more like, okay, so you've been sick for 3 days. Have you gone to the doctor?
Mm.
Are you doing this? Are you doing this? Like, have you taken care of this yet? Like those
Mhm.
types of things. And so it's kind of strange. And that also happened after my dad passed away. So I don't know if like my dad in the relationship was kind of like that caretaker for her.
Mm.
And like after he passed away, I ended up stepping in as the caretaker. Like,
Mm.
what are you doing here? Like, you have to mow your lawn. Come on. Like, let's let's go do this type deal. Um, and I know her boyfriend that she has. Like I said, he's a great guy, super great guy. Takes care of her. Um, my dad would be happy. My dad would like it. Um, and so he does the same thing, but he also runs into the issues like she doesn't listen. Like, of course she doesn't listen. Like, come on. And so even to this day, I still get text messages. Can you talk to your mom? Like, yes, I can talk to her. So it's it's definitely changing. Um, I don't know what kind of like internal struggles she might be having. I know we've talked about like depression and stuff like that. I don't know if she's battled depression like her whole life. And it just kind of started coming more to the surface after my dad passed away, or if it's coming to the surface more as she's getting older. Um, I'm not sure. I don't know if like she's just historically done a bunch of other things to try and cope with it, and now she doesn't have the same coping mechanisms or whatever the
So
case
she
might be.
seems depressed to you?
She seems definitely like, and I mean, we've talked about it. I've gotten her to, well, she says she's seeing like a counselor type person at this point, which is the first time she's ever done that. So I hope she is. I don't know if she is. I really hope she is.
Do you want to ask if we can put a bubble of unconditional love and light around mom?
That'd be great.
Yeah. Okay. So are you able now to place a bubble of, oh, and let's throw some joy in there, right?
That'd be really great.
A bubble of unconditional love, light, joy, and peace around mom. Um, and tell us what that looks like. Okay.
Um,
So how often do you talk to mom?
talk probably every couple of weeks, but I mean we like text with each other. We'll do like messaging on Facebook. We play a word game back and forth throughout the day.
Ah,
Like
okay.
we have contact frequently on
Okay.
different
Okay.
levels.
Does she live near you or no?
She lives, well, she has two homes now. She has
Okay.
one in northern Minnesota and then she has one in Florida.
Ah, nice. Jealous.
So,
So, so the home in Minnesota, is it close to you?
no, it's up by Pelican Rapids. So
Oh,
it's
okay.
like 3 hours away.
3 hours away. Okay. And her boyfriend is with her back and
Yep.
forth between the two houses?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yep. They actually, so the Pelican Rapids home is his house. And then they bought the Florida one together.
So I'm guessing they spend winters in Florida?
Yep.
Yeah.
The last
Because we
couple
know
years.
how brutal the Minnesota winters are.
Yeah, I think this is so I think they bought the house 2 years ago.
In
2 years ago?
Florida?
Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. Good for them.
Mhm.
Um, okay. And what about, oh, excuse me, I got good sleep last night. I don't know where that's coming from. What about relationship with your brothers? How's that?
Um, Growing up, I didn't see my two oldest brothers a whole lot. When I was really young, they lived with us. When I was about, I want to say 3 or 4, they moved in with their mom the majority of the time, and then they spent like the every other weekend with us, and then summers with us. And so I really didn't start building a relationship again with them until I got older.
Okay.
Definitely way closer with them than I have ever been at this point in my life. My brother Tony, I mean, we've always been fairly close. I would say nothing really has changed a whole lot there. My younger brother, same thing. We're all close. We don't talk super frequently, but it's one of those things where it's like if there's a problem, we're all on it. Like
Okay. Got it.
we swarm.
Got it. Got it. Okay. And what about, so any problems growing up and anything significant that you can think of other than
Being tormented by like spirits and energy. Outside of that, no problems that I can think of growing up. Standard like teenage angst,
okay.
things like
All
that.
right. And what'd you do after you finished high school?
I
Anything
went on.
significant stand out? Okay. Go
I
ahead.
went on to college.
Okay.
I had a pretty good track and field career in college. Um, I ended up with 7 all-time All-Americans in a national championship with that. Um, didn't ever graduate college.
You did or didn't?
Did not.
Oh, okay.
See, after that, started working. Eventually met my husband.
Okay.
I got married in 2009.
Okay.
Trying to think of other big things. I absolutely love what I do at this point in my life as far as my career goes.
Okay. So what do you do for your career?
So I'm in IT. A couple of years ago, I'm trying to think of a short way to describe what I do. The short way is I do what I want.
Oh, okay.
It's I deal specifically with the platform. I do the building, the maintaining, the architect, like all the architecture of it. If somebody has like a problem that they're dealing with, I'll have conversations with them to say, okay, well, this is what I can do with this platform to help you in this situation. And they'll either say, awesome, let's do it, or they'll say, I'll just not do anything. So,
Right. Okay.
um, So I deal a lot with improving processes. I deal a lot with saving money by taking out other like software, stuff like that that's getting used that doesn't need to be used because we can.
Is it for your particular company's proprietary software, or
Nope.
you do that for just in general, other software, like other?
So it's in general. I do that as far as like the processes, things like that. But the software that I use, it's a software that's used by thousands upon thousands of companies out
Oh,
there.
okay, got it, got it. Okay, got it. And you just kind of personalize it and tweak it to be what they need.
Mhm.
Awesome. Yeah, that does sound
Yeah.
fun.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So it's great.
Okay, so you love what you do,
Mhm.
so no questions about that.
Yep.
And what about so you've been married since 2009. How's
Yeah,
the marriage going?
great.
Okay, awesome.
Mhm. No, he's awesome. It's um I think he's out of all the people I've dated, met, known, um, he's the only person that I've ever come in contact with that I know I wouldn't get tired of. Like,
Ah,
um, I don't know. It's like a other people have described it as like the twin flame type deal. I mean, we are nerds together.
okay.
It's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous.
Is he in IT also?
He was when we met. Now
Oh, okay.
he does physical therapy, or not physical therapy, massage therapy and
Wow, that
physical
was a big
training.
jump.
Yeah.
Wow,
Mhm.
big jump.
Yep. So he actually he works for a company on the massage therapy side, and then for like the personal training stuff, he actually goes to people's homes. And then he also has his own company where he does massage and he travels to people's homes as well.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
So he basically decided to get out of IT and do his passion.
Mm-hmm.
That is so
He didn't,
cool.
and it was funny because like he didn't know really it was his passion until after he had met me. And it's funny, he tells his like origin story to all of his clients and stuff. And it came about because of an injury I had from when I was in college. And so he would always like massage my foot because I broke my foot and I had a pin put in. And I kept telling him, I'm like, out of all the physical therapy that I've ever done and all this sort of stuff, I'm like, this is the only time my foot has ever felt better. And so like he kind of got a little spark, and he's like, okay, well, he's like, I must be good at this. And so he kind of started looking at it, and he was already into lifting and stuff like that. And so he started looking at the personal training side of things, and then he started getting into the massage therapy side, and yeah.
Wow, that's so cool. I love that
Mm-hmm.
story. That's awesome. Well, how kind of you to get that injury in college so you could help spark his passion.
Exactly.
What an act of service and love. Okay, so gosh, okay. So you, other than, the other stuff, like you sound like you have a perfect life. So what are you doing here? No, just kidding. Like what do you want to know? You got this
I've
great
had a lot of
marriage.
struggles. I've had a lot of struggles, but it's interesting. I I love it. It has been a journey for me. It has definitely been a journey. Um, I haven't always loved what I did. I haven't always loved the company I worked for. I haven't always been happy with my current situation, like where I lived and that sort of thing. Um, and it's definitely been a lot of like self-reflection and listening to that. I don't know, your I don't know what you would call it. It's the little voice, the little Jiminy cricket on your shoulder,
Mhm.
um, and actually listening. to it. And so that's part of what's sparked me reaching out to you, is tied to all these things that I've been doing over the last couple of years. And it ties really back to my earliest memories, dealing with coming in contact with spirits, energies, things like that. And so at a young age, I think it's in my heart of hearts, it's safe to say there were many times I was just absolutely tormented when I was little.
From the spirits?
From spirits, yes.
Oh.
Tormented. Some of them, I would say, were definitely like normal human spirits that were just not kind. Others I would place not in the human realm. But yeah, I've gotten to the point where I can tell the difference, like, between them, like, but no, and so after kind of my dad passing and all of that, I started kind of kicking off more of my journey in that space. And it's really been, I have a few friends that have also embarked on their journeys, and they're way, way further down their journey than I am right now at this point in time. And one of my friends actually said that you are a person that I should reach out to and go through this process. I'm like, okay.
Got it.
Okay. And both of these two people kept telling me, they're like, just listen to yourself. Yourself is telling you what to do and you're not listening to it. Just listen to it. I'm like,
right,
fine. Like, okay, I will listen. And so since I've done that, it's like opening up a can of worms. So I've always.
Okay, what do you mean by opening up a can of worms?
So I've always been in contact with things, and I've taken some classes in the past about connecting, communicating, things like that, getting contact with my guides and stuff like that. And I've gone through the processes of when I'm feeling good and grounded, like, I'm kind of open to connecting and things like that. And then when everything's getting shook up, like, I'll shut everything off. So I'm like, okay, I'm not connecting to anything. After I made the decision of, okay, I'm going to listen to myself. I'm going to listen to the things that are coming in. It's like, I might run into a couple things every few days. Now it's like all the time. Like all the time. It'll either be messages or it'll be, I don't know, I call them drive-bys. Like,
okay.
They just wanderers that just come through, checking things out. In some cases, it's, people that are looking for somebody that can actually communicate to them because they either have the message or they're stuck or they're I don't know, just wanting to talk.
And so do you have conversations?
Sometimes.
With any of them? Okay. And do the conversations now seem like what? Like, and I don't mean they necessarily like verbal, but because it can obviously be. Yeah. Okay.
Now it's kind of weird because it's like, it's going to sound strange, but maybe in this space it doesn't sound strange. It's like before, my conversations were kind of like at like this level, like you have like, I don't know, like your standard people that come and go, energies that come and go. And now it's like I'm connecting with things that I haven't connected with before.
Okay.
Like an example would be Was it last week? It was either last week or the week before. When I was grounding, that's where I do a lot of my grounding, by the way, my sauna.
Oh, okay. I wondered what that was
You're wondering
behind
what
you.
that is. That's
Well,
my
I thought
sauna.
it was maybe some sort of bookshelf or something because you're covering part of it, so I couldn't really tell. So, oh, okay.
Yeah,
All right. A sauna.
that's my sauna.
Yay. Nice to have in
Um,
Minnesota.
oh, very much so. And so I was in there grounding, and normally when I ground, like we all have our practices that we do.
Right.
I don't typically have anything come to me in my like grounding practice that I have. In this particular case, like I got to a certain point in my grounding, and I'll call it a person because it kind of looked like a person. They had a hood on.
This was recently?
Yeah, it was like
Okay.
it was either last week or the week before.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. You think you said that. Okay. Okay.
They came forward because this is at the point where I'm like looking at my light in my grounding. They came forward and they had like a hood, but they had their own light.
Okay.
Like theirs was like a yellowish color. And they came in, they were super bright, and they came in and they handed me like this ball. Like it was, and what do you do when somebody hands you something? You inevitably you're like, okay. Like,
Right. I'd be like, whoa, what is that?
and so I'm like, okay. And so I take it. I'm like, I'm like, what is it? And then they just kind of like back out. Like, I'm like, okay. And so I'm like looking at it. And then like I bring it in and it lights up with my light. I'm like, okay. So that's a thing now. Like, I don't know what it is, but it's a thing. And it was 2 days after that, I was grounding again. And for the second time, a being showed up in my grounding practice.
The same being or a different
No,
being?
a different one.
Okay.
And this one didn't have any light to them. They had a hood, and they like, I had, I'm looking at my light, and they like came in, kind of like, and they're like super focused on my light, and they're like kind of holding their hands out like this, like they're gonna try and grab something from me, and I like verbally yelled, like it wasn't the nicest thing, but I'm like, get out of my light. Or I said, what the hell are you doing here? And it like looked at me, he's like, you can see me. And then I get the F out here. And it's like, and it like shot back. And I'm like, and so that's what I'm saying. Like, now that I'm like listening to my little Jiminy Cricket, I'm like connecting with different things that I haven't connected with before. And so I have no idea.
So it seems shocked that you could see it, you said.
Mm-hmm. Like it reacted to me saying, what the hell are you doing here? It's like,
so you ground. Do you shield yourself?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay.
And I definitely notice differences when I don't.
Okay,
And
so
it was
were you
actually
shielded that day?
at the step when I was shielding myself is when they stepped in.
When you shielded yourself, then they started stepping in?
It was when I was in that process is when they stepped in.
So have you ever set the intention that when do you shield yourself? When you wake up in the morning, or are you kind of after you get going in the morning, or when do you shield yourself?
Kind of depends. I'm working on getting a better practice in place.
So do you do it every day, or sometimes you forget?
Sometimes I do not do it.
Okay.
But it's a work in progress.
Well, I was just going to say, this idea just popped into my head. What about setting the intention when you shield yourself that shield is going to stay in place until you like recharge it, like put another one on. Like it doesn't just go away. Like that shield is like a permanent shield for you, and it stays until you re-shield, and there's no break. Like, you know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? There's no break in you ever being unshielded.
I'll
Does
add
that
that
make
in.
sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would add that in. Um, that way you don't have to have like that little gap where they can kind of like a worm come in there. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like just add that intention. But definitely make it. I mean, you need to make you especially right need to make an intention that you do this every single morning,
Mm-hmm.
probably before your feet hit the floor. I mean,
Yeah.
that's what I do too. Every morning, my feet don't hit the floor until I'm shielded, grounded. I've cut all cords, clear my
Mm-hmm.
energetic space. Like those are my four must do's every day. Like I have a video on my YouTube about the four must do's, like those four things every single day.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then you need to set the intention that you're impervious to evil, right? So that's one of my affirmations. And like I know that I know that I know it. Like I'm impervious to evil.
Mm-hmm.
I am your I am statement, right? So wow. Okay, so we have questions about this, right?
Yeah. Like, what's the ball? What was the ball?
Okay, let me take the notes that I have and copy
Yeah.
them over to the action and make it into an actual question.
Because
Um,
the second one that came in, it was like it was reaching for the thing that the other person gave me.
maybe you were supposed to pass it along. I don't know, right? We'll find out,
Yeah.
right?
The feeling I got from the second one was not like a warm
uh,
fuzzy.
right.
The first one was. The first one, I'm like, oh, okay. Like, yeah.
Okay. Oh, excuse me. I made that into a question. Very curious. Okay. So do we want to ask just kind of in general, what in the heck is going on?
It's so there's been a lot of like new stuff that's been happening around here. Um,
Have
and
you ever saged your house or cleansed your house or anything like that?
oh yeah.
Okay. So it's not that. Okay. Is there a
Um,
portal in your home, maybe?
um,
Does it feel like it?
there were multiple. So one of the things that happens because of who I am, um, they open. Like they open. Um, and like I've at one point, it was a few weeks ago, maybe a couple months ago at this point in time. Um, I had actually asked one of my guides, I'm like, are there portals in here? And he's like, yeah. I'm like,
Yeah.
how many? And he said there were 7. I don't have that big of a space. Like I have like 1,300 square feet I'm working with here. It's not that big of a space. I'm like, oh my god. And so he said he went through and like he closed them out and stuff like that. But I mean, it just because of who I am, they're gonna open. Like it's
Okay.
um, and I think that's part of why I've always had like these contacts is I'm like a catalyst. People are like that. Part of it is I think I don't know if it's a thing or not. You might know. Um, when I was not even born yet, um, I almost died multiple times, and my mom almost died multiple times.
So before you were born.
Yeah, so like while she was
Okay.
pregnant with me. And then when I was born in distress, where I almost died. So I don't know if I like read recently something about like people who have potentially had like an experience like that where they end up being like people are just drawn, spirits are drawn to it because they're like, oh, well, you died, even though you came back. But no, it's something I've always lived with. It's not a new, like that sort of thing with spirits and stuff being around me. It's not a new thing. for me.
Okay.
Over the years, I've gotten a better understanding of it. I've gotten definitely more control of it. The fear about it is definitely not like it was when I was little. I think there's still some held on, like, I would say trauma from it from when I was younger. Um, but I mean, like, as an adult, I've overcome that fear. But there's still like that lingering. So I think that's probably one of the questions too about like the fear side of it.
Okay, so let me, I'm going to change that note to a question. So give me a second. So I put on I'm going off 2 different documents here. I got the notes and then I got the questions. Okay. She feels like she might have some trauma she's holding from when she was younger as a result of the spiritual beings around her. Is she holding fear anywhere, any fear anywhere in her body? And if yes, can you tell us where it is? Pull it, send it to Creator's Light, and download in her instead Creator's peace and light in its place, and tell us what that looks like. Is that good?
That works.
Awesome.
One of the other new things,
Okay.
and I don't know if this is a space that you've dealt with or not. I think so because it's in one of the questions. I'm curious to know if I have one of those chips. I forgot.
Oh, an implant?
Yes.
Yeah. Does she have any? So any implants or Draco AI implants, right? Okay, let's do that.
Yeah. And a big piece of that.
I'm curious as to why you're wondering that, because it may be because you're supposed to learn about that, right? Maybe not, but it seems a little odd that that would be an attractive question to you.
Yeah. So this is actually the most recent experience that is actually what got me to set this up.
Okay.
So I've always had I give nicknames to different types of spirits. I think we all do. Like we all have our nicknames for things that stick around or show up and however they make us feel. You call them, I have one I call the lurker, the creeper. It's weird. I always remember it being around. I can't connect with it, which in itself I feel weird, especially at this point in time. I can sense it. I can see it to an extent. But it's like an observer. Like I almost feel like it's standing there with a little clipboard, and it's like just watching and observing. And it's typically always in the same place, no matter where I live. It's like always pretty much in the same place.
So like about 6 feet away, 7 feet away, like what do you mean by always being in the same place?
It's usually like right outside my bedroom door. Kind of like that's usually like its post. And it's just like monitoring. It's not.
And do you get a good feeling from it or not?
It's not like necessarily a bad feeling or a good feeling. It's like it's kind of like you kind of feel like a science experiment feeling. Like why are you watching me?
Using these words.
I will tell you about one of my travels. So, So this would have been, was it 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago that I contacted you?
I know you got in really quickly. You
Because
were on
there
my
was a
waiting list, right?
cancellation. Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, yeah. There was a cancellation.
Yep.
Yeah.
So it was probably a week after this situation happened that I contacted you.
Okay.
So I had another travel experience. This one was a little odd. Um, I went to this space. It was kind of in the middle of like a forested area, and there's like this old Victorian home. And off to the side, there was another old Victorian building. And I went into this old Victorian building, and it was like a playroom, like an old, I don't know, kind of like an old timey playroom where like the Victorian parents would forget about their children with a nanny type
Okay.
playroom. And I'm looking around, I'm like, this is kind of weird. And I'm like, I can see like some old fashioned toys and stuff, and I see like a stack of blocks, and I'm like, those are some weird blocks. And then the floor actually opens, like mechanically opens, like, and I fell into it, and inside it was actually like it was like nothing I've ever seen before. It was kind of like a laboratory-ish type thing, but it was like nothing
Oh,
I've seen before.
just got goosebumps. Okay. I don't know where this is going, but wow.
Um,
Okay.
and so I'm like looking around, and there's pedestals everywhere. And I'm walking along these pedestals, and I can see like these weird like things. And I'm like, so I'm kind of inspecting them, and I can see like at a couple of these pedestals, there's a couple of like children, but the children are like different time frames. Like one was from like probably early 1900s, one was from like the 40s, 50s, one was from like a little bit later ish, or from the 60s ish. And they were playing with these blocks on this pedestal, and the blocks were like moving on their own, kind of like they were like using their mind to play these blocks. But the kids didn't,
Just like the Matrix movie, right?
kind
Where
of,
they were bending the spoon with their mind. Okay. Anyway, the
kind of,
kids were.
but they
Okay.
weren't. The kids had no, they had no idea that I was there. Like they were focused on
Okay.
these blocks. And I'm walking around, I'm looking, and what I come to realize is like all these pedestals are like collections. And each of these pedestals was actually a person. And they were slowly collecting pieces of these people. And these three kids were actually three people that they collected completely. And at some point they just like took the kids. And so I'm walking around, and this like person comes up, and at first they're like, how did you get in here? And like very angry. And then they looked at me, and they're like, oh. And then instead of being a person, they turned into like this, I don't know, turtley looking alien thing. Not like the gray type aliens, but they looked kind of turtley. And then they got excited. And they're like, let me show you, let me show you around. Like they recognized me. Like, let me show you around. And so they started telling me about what they were doing. And they were, in fact, like, they would take the kids to the playroom, and they would collect pieces of them. And then they would take them back. And then they would take them to the playroom, collect pieces of them, take them back. And
Take
eventually
them back where? Take them back where?
to wherever they were from.
Okay. So they'd collect like samples of the kids, or
Yeah.
would they
So
take
like they would
limbs
like make
or
like copies. It was almost, the little pieces I saw
like,
were kind of like if you saw like a 3D copy of them. And so eventually they would get so much copied of the kid, they would just take the kid. And the kid would
wait,
never
okay.
return back to where they took him from.
Okay, hold on. So, because I want to make sure my notes are clear and I understand this, because I'm just sitting here like, oh, this is amazing. Okay. Okay. Because there's so much we don't know and
Yeah.
understand. And You're just like seeing all this stuff. So
It
this
was
is
very,
like
so I guess I could
wild.
recap it as I went to a place.
Like a lab, an underground
It was
lab,
like an
right?
underground lab where they were doing basically like alien abductions
Mm-hmm.
of children. And they were taking the children
Okay.
and they were like making, like taking pieces of them little
Okay.
by
And so
little.
what did that look like to take pieces of them?
It was like on the pedestals, it looked like they're starting to build like kind of like the brainstem and like kind of like the spinal column. Some pieces were like bigger than others.
So kind of
Uh,
like a 3D printer type thing?
mhm.
Okay. 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 So they basically had it there, the kid there, so they could build a 3D image of them basically next to the kid, and they needed the kid to like be there so they could do the copying.
So those three, they completed the process and they took those three kids.
Okay,
So
so
those
what do you mean by took the three kids? What did that look like? Did the 3D image like absorb them then?
yeah,
Or
so it's like they completed. It was weird because it's like they were taking pieces and pieces and pieces, and once they got to a certain point, they just took the whole kid to
so
complete.
the kid would be actually
Gone.
become that. Oh,
Yep. And so like as this turtley looking thing was talking to me, it dawned on me like these kids would be missing people. Like they would be
right,
part of a
the
missing
children
person report.
abduction.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Have you ever looked into what race is like a turtle race? Because I don't know anything like that.
So
You did? Is there one? There's got to be one,
yeah.
right?
Yep. Actually it took quite a while, but I found like render it like pictures. Um and I'll pull it up and I think it has the name of it on there. And so the weird part is where the really weird part is. Like it's not all weird already. Um, so like I said, it recognized me somehow. I don't know. I was me. Like I looked like me there, and it changed from its human shielding to this turtle thing, and it got excited, and it's like showing me around, and it gets done, and I just looked at it, and I ended up killing it. I
You
just
killed the turtle?
I'm gonna call it a turtle because it had kind of like a turtley looking face,
Yeah, 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 yeah.
and
Uh-huh.
like a longer neck and like a little more like potatoy body than like. Um, I ended up grabbing something from like a table, like, and I stabbed it, and it just looked at me and it's goes, um, "What have you done?" I'm like, again, I don't know. And then I was gone. Like I was brought back. And then the next day, so I'm talking to one of my friends who's further along their journey about this over electron like video, and the next day, and there's orbs like shooting like in the video, like you can see them like going like in and out of me, and I'm like, oh crap. And so I'm sitting here at my deal, and I think, let me see if I can show you, but okay, so there's my office door.
Okay.
You can see right there. If you go that way down the hall, that's where my
Okay.
bedroom is.
Okay.
And that's where that kind of like researcher lurker thing is. So I'm talking to my friend, and all of a sudden I see this like, all I can describe as is a gigantic hamster ball, like a 3-4 foot high round hamster ball looking thing, but it's like all blurred. So you know, like when like you don't want to like when you have a picture and you're like, oh, I don't want somebody to see this, and you use like that little blur feature
Yeah.
thing. That's what it looked like, but it was a perfect circle, and it rolled down the hall. Like when I say rolled, I mean it shot down the hall to where the lurker is, and for 2 days he was gone, and then he came back.
Hey.
So
Oh my gosh. I'm like sitting here and my mind is going a million different directions. Like,
so
I love having my mind blown and learning new things, but it just takes me a little bit to assimilate things.
so
Like,
it's
I'm
like it's
just sitting here like, I'm not in the assimilation
oh
stage yet.
I
I'm
was
in the,
gonna let
oh my
me
gosh.
see. I'm pretty sure I still have the picture here, and I think there's a name on the picture. Because there was something about the picture where after I found the picture, I'm like, oh, well, I guess this kind of makes sense. And then my friend and I had a whole other conversation tied a picture. Okay, it is. I'm gonna see if like I can like put it up near the camera thing to see if you can see it. I don't know how well it'll work, but it looks like that.
Oh, what race is that? That's what it looked like?
Yeah.
What race is that?
Um, it says it's from Orion.
Oh, ooh.
This says Queen Histel from Orion. I don't know who
Okay,
Queen
hold on.
Histel
I'm
is.
gonna go grab a book. Hold on. I have a book right behind me. Give me 1 sec.
Mhm. Oh, yeah.
So, it's Extraterrestrial Species Almanac. I'm
Okay.
gonna try to look that up. I didn't mean for the cover. I was just showing
Yeah.
you the name of the book. Let me see.
But no, it was so as you're looking it up, um,
Uh-huh.
so my friend also like she's looking stuff up too, and I came across that picture. I'm like, this looks like the thing, and she sent me some other pictures because apparently if you have a connection to Orion, I always, even when I was little, I absolutely loved Orion's belt. Like that was I still love it. Still my favorite. Still my absolute
Okay.
favorite. Um, but my friend's like, okay, so apparently if like you have resonance with some of these pictures, and she sent me like a link to some stuff. Um, and you get like this feeling of like homesickness and stuff like that, you're probably from there. And so she sent me these pictures. I'm like, yeah, like these pictures resonate, but I don't get the homesickness feeling. I get the feeling like I want the F out of here, get me out of here. Like,
Okay, hold on. I'm still looking. Give me 1 sec. Original human Orions. Here's something about that. And then there's something called the Watchers. Let's
creepers.
see what let's see what it says. Watchers are indistinguishable from Earth humans, although they are taller. Does it look kind of human? Or you don't know what it looks like?
So I can kind of see like the space. It is taller. I can tell you that. I mean,
Okay.
it's like, I don't know how tall is the door
It
frame.
said 5'11" to 7 feet for males, and wait, I'm sorry. General height for females is 5'11" to 7 feet, and for males is 6 to 8 feet. They're elders of the universe, ascended and created masters, indefinable by age, and have a variety of skin tones. Their hair is usually long and snowflake colored, Some male watchers prefer facial hair of various lengths. Other watchers choose a more youthful appearance. Watchers believe in the cosmic law of one, but why would it have disappeared by a hamster wheel if it's a watcher, right? Right? So that's why I'm
I
wondering
don't
if
know.
maybe
Maybe
it's
it was
not
a
a watcher.
messenger. Maybe it's like the
And it
hamster
might not have
involved
been
the
a watcher. I'm just
messenger.
reading a, yeah. So let's see what it says. Original human Orions come from the Orion constellation. Orion men are 10 to 12 feet tall and women are 8 to 10 feet tall. Their skin colors vary from milky white to light blue or green, while others have a violet tint. The whites of their eyes are visible with a faint violet. Blah, 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 blah. They have a flair for the dramatic and carry themselves with confidence, strength, and resiliency. Their hooded capes are green, blue, or purple. Um,
I wonder if
before
that's where I
the
got the ball from.
before the aggression of the Orion or Draconian Empire, the original human Orions coexisted with Draconians of all classes until power struck the reptile clan to rule the universe. Refusing to hand over their magical secrets, some of the original human Orions were forced into the Orion Empire. Those who refused to reveal their magical powers were killed. Eventually, the light in magic turned into the dark arts. Original human Orions transfer innovative ideas and ideals into a planetary field through their magical discs. These enlightened thought forms are free-floating and can be accessed by the population to bring into existence. Original human Orions are fully conscious and sovereign beings. Telepathy is created through pathways that spread out into a mass consciousness overlay or to an individual by speaking the light essence language. Oh my gosh, you guys see this picture. Using radiant frequencies encased in the spoken word. Look at this picture from the original human
Tingles.
Orion. Look at the balls of light. Did it look like that or no?
Yeah,
It looked like
yeah.
that?
It looked like the one, not the one with the triangle. It looked like the other one
The one he's
with
holding?
the one on that side.
Hold on, I'm gonna,
So the one by your finger.
this one? Oh my gosh, I can't point here. So did it look like this one?
The other one.
This one over here?
Your screen froze for a second.
So this one over here?
Yeah.
That one?
Yep.
What? This is so wild. Yeah, that is because I noticed like all these different balls of light. Yeah, some of them have triangles in them and some of them don't. So that says original human Orion male.
And it
So
had
the
a it
person
had
that
it
gave
had
it
a
to you, did it look like that guy?
they had a yeah, they had a hood.
So kind of look like that guy?
It kind of it kind of looked like that, but their head was down like a little bit more. And they
Uh-huh.
had so that's kind of that picture is kind of cool. Because like they had their own light, like they had their own like complete light.
Right.
And then there was like an additional like light, like a lighted kind of like halo-y added on. But it was like theirs was yellowish, their light. The second one that came in didn't have any light at all. And they're a little different. Like they were it wasn't the same as the first one. The first one I would definitely say was way more like that picture. Um Not as artistically rendered, but a lot more like that picture. Um yeah, and the ball, it didn't have the triangle in the ball. It was like a ball and then it had like a little light in the ball. So it looked like a circle, I guess, in the middle, but it was like a little light that was starting to shine. Um,
So this is talking about clones and how clones are biologically created, grown in artificial embryo sacs and void of a soul. Um,
uh,
they are an extension of their programmers, can be used for good or evil. The dark Orion draconian empire creates, uses, and sells robotoids. To protect themselves, the Orions, the Draconians, use robotoids to do their dirty work.
Wait, where'd my phone go? Is that what that thing was?
Oh, listen to this. One type of clone exists to throw starseeds off their missions, interfering with alignment and ascension messages, preventing them from achieving spiritual elevation, and distorting the true benevolent cosmic reality. These clones use artificial intelligence consciousness to impersonate a voice of truth, but their messages are designed to create fear through false love. But as the starseed increases their spiritual sustenance, they are able to recognize the false voice and uproot it from their consciousness and detour it from future transmissions. The first phase is recognition.
So that's that's funny. I was actually telling my husband about this yesterday. So not last night, but the night before, I had a dream that my dad was in. It's not very often that I have any sort of connections with my dad in like dreams and that sort of thing. I'll connect with him every now and then, like around like a holiday or something like that, or we'll have like a moment where like, I might be doing something on my car or something like that. But we connected in my dream 2 nights ago, and it was the weirdest thing because I even told my husband, I'm like, that wasn't my dad. Because like in my dream, he came in and he came in to like chastise me or like yell at me or something, which didn't make sense to start out with, what he was like getting mad at me about. So that in itself didn't make sense. But then like when I yelled back, like in true fashion,
Right.
His reaction was to start like mocking the person I was with. So the person I was with was British, and he started mocking that person and their accent and stuff like that, which my dad would absolutely never do. Never do. And I'm standing there and I'm like, you're not, I'm like, what's wrong with you? I'm like, you're not my dad. And then like he left. And I told my husband about it yesterday morning. I'm like, it was the weirdest dream. I'm like, he came in and he was like yelling at me and then he started mocking somebody. And even my husband's like, dad wouldn't do that. I'm like, no, he wouldn't. But like somebody from the outside, knowing bits and pieces about him, would assume, okay, so he yells.
Right.
All right, so like they'll just take it like, okay, so like he'll yell, he'll mock somebody, just kind of roll with it. Yeah, no, that was not him at all.
So, yeah, getting to a place like that, it almost makes you feel like, what can I believe and what can I trust?
Mm-hmm.
Right? If it comes in looking like my dad, but
Yeah.
what kind of discernment you had? Right?
Yeah, I mean, like it was like one of those like instant things because like the way like he came in was not my dad. Like out of the gate, I'm like, there's something weird with this. Like this isn't right. Like this isn't him. And then when he started mocking the person I was with, that absolutely was not my dad.
Yeah.
Absolutely not.
Yeah, but I mean, what great discernment you had, right?
Mm-hmm.
To be able to know that. Okay, wow.
So those things, they actually clone things. Like
They
that's
clone things. I mean, and that's basically what you saw in that laboratory too,
yeah,
right? Like you saw cloning happening,
yeah.
almost like a different kind of clone. Like they were trying to take, I don't know if they were trying to take, I mean, you can't take the soul probably. I mean, I don't know. This is all beyond my pay
It
grade,
was
right?
weird. It was
But
like they were trying to like it was like they were trying to copy, and then they
listen
got
to
to like a
this.
critical point.
Listen to this. If clones are heavily implanted and joined with a group mind, either artificial or advanced alien, they become robotoids. wonder if they were trying to make them like as much human-like as possible by doing it that way when you saw in that lab.
See?
Um,
When I killed that alien, instantly the kids that were playing with the blocks
uh-huh.
dropped, and the kids like looked around. They're like, "This isn't fun anymore. I want to go home." Like, it, and then I got out of there. Like, I don't know how I get back home. I don't like see like crap. I'm just like plucked. But it was like it was. I don't, and it's one of those things where it's like I can recognize the kids still. Like I can still see the kids. I have absolutely no idea how to even like. I have maybe time frame references based on what they were wearing, and that is it. Like I couldn't be. I don't even know how to like start researching something to see if I can maybe track down the home of any of these kids. But I mean, they were, yeah, there's 3 of them that I could see. A girl and 2 boys.
Okay. Well, let's
That's
put these
weird.
into questions.
So what are those? So the green things are those draconians
I
or
was
whatever?
trying to find the picture, like a picture of the one, the turtle-like one that you had. I was trying to find that. I'm not. Let me see if I can still find it.
Because they kind of had like a humanish face, but like they didn't. It was like kind of turtley, like no even.
Right, right. Hold on, let me look.
Gosh, I'm gonna see if I can maybe write something without like shutting everything
I'm
down.
wondering if it's an. I wonder if it's an Anunnaki, but I'm not seeing a picture like of an Anunnaki. The Anunnaki are human reptilians or reptile influenced. The Draconians and Anunnaki are said to vie for the dominion of Earth. Um, see if I can find any other pictures. Mhm.
Yeah, no, the first thing that like caught my attention was it wasn't because everybody sees like the little gray alien guys, and this was not.
Yeah, the grays.
Yeah, this was
Yeah,
not a gray
no,
at
no.
all.
And grays are just basically robots anyway. They're just yeah.
But no, it was strange, and so after after that, like, and it was kind of interesting. So after that happened, like I had a lot of like weird electronic stuff happen as
Mm,
well. In general, I have a I have an affinity of having electronic issues. Like I can't wear a watch because I drain the battery like within an hour or so. So I can't wear like electronic things on me. Um, I frequently like gaming controllers, stuff like that. If they're wireless, they die quickly, things like that. So I always have electronic weirdness happening. But after that situation, I mean, I even recorded it for my friend to see. It was like there was another person like using my computer. It was weird. It was the same day that the hamster ball went rolling through. I mean, it was like nonstop, like weird stuff like that happening all day that day. I did it after I said stop. Like it stopped. But it was strange.
Okay, hold on. I'm still looking. Oh, you want to hear this? Okay. Oh gosh, I got chills now. Okay. The the Orans, I don't know if I'm pronouncing Orons. The Orons are thought to be from the Orion constellation. They're between 6 and 7 feet, predominantly female and female run. Their pigmentation is dark, with rounder heads than the grays, with a long extra jointed limbs and slender fingers. They may be a hybridization of other insectoid beings, reptiles, and grays. Their large eyes are bulbous, similar to the grays. They have, I don't know how to pronounce this word, nictitating lenses that are used like a pair of sunglasses. Their eyes glow in orange-red color when using night vision or seeing other realities interdimensionally. Their service to self, like many negative races, they abduct humans for genetic experiments against their wills. Orons make humans feel special to blend them with their will. Human DNA mixed with alien DNA gives Orons an upgrade, as we are considered DNA royalty with ascension capabilities this race lost in their degenerative life force. Another purpose for creating a hybrid race is that when they are a part of us, literally, they can study themselves and us more in depth, which helps them to rebuild their new society. The irony here is that the Orans, through human hybridization, might just become an enlightened race, something they probably did not consider when first mixing their DNA with us. Orans' technical sophistication in genetic engineering is superior. Their overall technological advancements are over 2,000 years ahead of ours. They use implants in humans to monitor those under their bioengineering program. Orans travel in metallic discuses with genetic laboratories on board. Orans stare into their abductees' eyes to mind scan them using telepathic hypnosis, gaining access into their subconscious mind to discover their fears and use them against their target. Here they are able to control and paralyze the abductees' bodies while they perform their medical tests and extract genetic materials.
That sounds terrible.
Extract genetic materials. Doesn't that sound like what you saw?
It kind of.
It
It is
possesses the
like,
power of levitation and can glide across the air due to the electromagnetic energy enhancements programmed into their auras. The Orans are able to tune their frequency to become invisible and walk through walls. Here's a picture, but it's like a close-up.
the thing that I saw didn't have a nose like that.
Okay.
Thankfully, I guess. These things sound gross.
But
Terrible.
and it's saying that like other alien species,
Mm-hmm.
they do these experiments. But I just thought that was interesting. Maybe it's
Yeah.
giving us a little insight. They use implants in humans to monitor those under their bioengineering program. And you think you might have an implant.
I think I might. I think I'm, for whatever reason, I think there's a chance I'm being tracked, monitored.
Right.
And the fact that, like, when I got to that place, the guy, like, he was a human, like, when I got there. And he, like, looked at me, he's like, okay. And then, like, he
So he
changed.
scanned you. He
Like,
scanned you.
he like, looked at me, and he's like, okay, like, I recognize you. and he took like his little thing off, his suit off, and I saw his little turtliness. And then he got excited because he's like, "Let me show you what we're doing." Like
Orans stare into their abductees' eyes to mind scan them using telepathic hypnosis, gaining access to their subconscious mind.
I wouldn't say that he didn't stare. I can say that it was like one of those like
Okay. He scanned you over, basically.
yeah, he just kind of like he looked. He's like, okay, like
Okay. So weird though, what did I say about the taking the genetic? That was interesting. Not to say that it is an Oran, but taking human genetic material and then mixing it or using it, right? Okay, so let me see if I can find anything else.
were there any pictures of the I think this one just said Orion's, which doesn't help
So hold
at
on.
all.
Um, Give me a second. Let me look at something. Um, did it look I don't know how I'm gonna be able to do this. If I can turn my computer to face my other, let me unplug it to face my other computer. Did it look like this one or no?
No.
No, okay. Hold on, let me go. So here's some pictures I look when I Google pictures of turtle alien race.
Um. Nope.
None of those. Let me see. Let me see if I scroll down. Let me see. I think these are more like games now. Gaming. Ah, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. All right, let me put this more over here. Wow. Well, I guess we can ask higher self too, right?
Yeah.
It's just my curiosity is like what, but hold on, I'm not quite through this book yet, but I'm almost there. So it wasn't like this one, right? Oops.
No.
No. Okay.
Not quite like that one. It had more like humany looking eyes.
Ah, okay. More human-y looking
What
eyes.
is the name of the book that you're looking at?
It is the Extraterrestrial Species Almanac, but it doesn't have every species in here because I was trying to find a particular one time and it wasn't in here, and I was like, "What? How does that one not in there?" But there are a lot. So here's some hybrid ones. This one, or it wasn't this one, was it?
No.
Yeah, that's a draconian. Not this one either, right?
So that kind of looked like the second one that came in to try and take my thing.
Okay, that's an alpha albino royal draconian.
Is it where?
Stand anywhere from 10. They hail from the Orion constellation. 10 to 20 something feet. They're monstrous creatures. They're winged with arms and claw-like hands and have powerhouse bodies and muscles of steel. Their pure white scaly skin is a combination of scales and scutes. Small round eyes that are either burnt yellow or orange with reptile slits, and they have bony crests in place of the eyebrows. Even though their noses are small, they snort with a fierce sound, one of domination. Their lips are thin and wide, covering razor sharp teeth. They are royalty among their caste, their leaders coming from a long genetic line of rulers.
Because this one, both of them, like their hoods were like down, so like I could see like this part of them. So like the reaction, like I couldn't see the eyes.
They created these albinos to do the draconians created the albinos to do their dirty work.
Like taking my stuff.
Right, hold on. Alpha albino royal drakes want to turn as many species as they can to service to self. Because, of course, if a planet is service to self, it can't ascend, right? When they become dark enough, they fold them into their Orion empire. They are said to rule over Earth from behind the cosmic curtain. Um,
Probably why it was shocked is it's not used to getting yelled at.
right? Not like this, right? It didn't look like that, right?
Um, no, so it had like the neck was a lot thinner, and it had like no,
No.
not
Okay.
that one.
Not this one.
It looked more similar to that one, but more squished, like a more like the nose would have been like if you took an eraser, kind of.
If
And like
these are
the neck was longer.
okay, that was a lizard type one. And the neck was thin, you said?
Yep.
Okay.
Like the neck and the arms were thin.
Okay.
And it kind of looked like it had I call it like a little potato body because it was like a more rounder like
Okay.
little
Not
body.
this one. Not that one, right?
It
No.
didn't look like that.
That's a serpent. No, serpent female, yeah. This one?
Mm, kind of, but it didn't have like really a discernible chin. It was
Okay.
like a
So
like
this is a jowlin. The jowlin's short, stubby body is anywhere from 2 to 4 feet. They waddle when they walk, yet are nimble. with wrinkled flesh and overlapping folds of skin.
No,
Okay.
it wouldn't have been that one.
These are wise sages. They're not evil. So that doesn't surprise me that it wasn't that one. Yeah, unfortunately, that's all that's in this book. I mean, the other ones are not anything like what you had described. So, wow, wow,
Yeah.
wow, wow. Okay,
So far,
so let me.
the closest thing of the thing that is that one drawing that I came across. I'm like scrolling through like pictures and pictures and pictures. But and then after that, and it's really been like after that, things have kind of like kicked up an additional like notch, I guess you could
You
say.
mean since you were in that lab and killed that
Yeah,
being?
yeah.
And kicked up a notch meaning like you feel more targeted and attacked, or kicked up a notch as in like your perception abilities? What do you mean by that?
Perception
Okay, okay. Okay, so hold on.
and
Let's
activity.
and activity.
Yeah.
Ah.
Um,
And she's a beast. She can go there and knock out a lab. Okay.
but God, no, it, it was literally like moments after my friend was like, I wonder what's going to happen. She's like, usually when something like this happens, either everything goes quiet or it gets really noisy. And it was within probably a minute that hamster ball thing came shooting through. And I'm like, okay, well, it's not quiet. Like, so yeah. I mean, it almost, there's moments where it's going to, I keep saying it's going to sound weird. It's going to sound strange. But again, in this space, probably doesn't. There's times where it almost feels like my home like wants to stand up and just walk away. Like,
And you
like
live in a detached house or a townhouse?
it's a townhouse. And so it's interesting because like when I clear my space, not only do I clear my space, like I clear the building. There's 4 townhouses that are connected. And so it's not just a one thing, it's I clear like the building. Because I found if I don't,
Your house is like, I never signed up for this.
I know. He's like, I'm out. I'm out.
I never signed up for this. Oh my gosh. So I got listed area, Old Victorian. Okay. A few weeks ago, she went. Okay. I see why you had to jump up on the list. We got to figure out what's going on here. So, what is her origin, so to speak,
That'd be good.
in the universe? And what is she meant to do here? And why is she experiencing all of this stuff? I mean, there's going to be like a million follow-up questions that come.
Yeah.
So, obviously, because I don't know what any of the answers are going to be for
Yeah.
any of this. And so, what does your friend say who you get to talk about this stuff to? Because not everyone has a friend they could talk to about
Yeah.
this kind of stuff. So, you're
I'm
really
thankful.
fortunate.
We call it like our little tribe. And so my husband's very like intuitive and sensitive too. So I can talk to him openly and freely as well about this sort of thing, and he gets it. And he has his own experiences, and we talk about it and stuff like that. So, it's I from what I understand, I'm in an odd space. Like, I I sense things, I see things, I hear things, I smell things. Um, like when I see things, I see physical things, but then I can also see like I don't know how to describe it. Um, I see things that aren't there but are there. I can see people's past situations, current situations. I'm still like honing it all in, so it's not like always like on type deal. I can see like if I'm able to really focus on things, I can get to the extent of being able to see like individual people's, I don't know how to describe it. Kind of like cord situation, I guess. And like how the cords are coming back in and then trace the cords back. I found recently that there's a lot of stuff that I've been doing through my life that I didn't know I had been doing. Just, I don't know. I've just been doing these things like binding things.
Binding?
Yeah.
Okay. And what do you mean by binding? Like kind of tying things up? I mean, that's what binding means, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So like, granted, it's been like binding things with love. So
Okay.
it's not like negative binding.
Right.
But it wasn't until recently, and when I say recently, I mean like in the last couple weeks, that I realized like, oh shit, this is what that is. Okay, so apparently I've been doing this since I was little. Things like I realized I had made like a little altar, and I've had one like my entire life, but I didn't realize that I had one until more recently. So it's like, again, it's part of my journey is listening to the little cricket on my shoulder. Just like, listen to yourself, do the things that you know you're supposed to be doing.
Mm-hmm.
And so as I'm starting to do that, I'm starting to realize like I've already been doing a bunch of stuff and not even realizing that I've been doing it. And then kind of coming to terms with it, and not in like a bad like way coming to terms with it, but like more of a realization, I guess. And then accepting it and not just shutting it down. But yeah, so it's really been over the last few weeks as I've been more open to listening, more open to the messages and everything like that. Everything's really been kicking up. Like, I'm actually kind of surprised. Well, I did do some sage and I grounded in here before this, so I guess I shouldn't be that surprised. But I'm a little surprised something hasn't come through in here yet. Because so it's pretty often like when I'm grounding in here, I'll get kind of like I also have the door shut, so I don't normally have the door shut, so that's probably part of it. But there's times where I'll be grounding in here and I'll have like what feels like a waiting line to talk.
Okay.
So, which is a little, I've gotten over the fact that I'm in the sauna and there's all these random people like wanting to chat. But sometimes it's just like one or two people. Sometimes it feels like a line of people. Sometimes there's nobody, which is great. Sometimes I just end up kicking everybody out. So.
And they come to you in the sauna?
A lot of times they do. And I don't know. I have a few ideas of why They come to me when I'm in the sauna. Part of it is I think some of them are confused by the sauna and they think maybe it's like a confessional. And so
Maybe
like,
it's like a portal in your sauna, right?
oh, so the glass here ends up being kind of like a scrying deal.
What do you mean?
So one of my most profound experiences happened in my sauna. For a while, I'd been feeling just like this heavy, just like gross energy. I didn't know what it was. I didn't want to connect with it because it was just kind of like this gross, like if it's really bad, I don't want to connect with it.
Right.
Type deal. And it had been hanging around and it was like following me around. And even my husband noticed like this energy like showed up in our home, which energies travel, spirits travel. And so finally, it's probably a week and a half, 2 weeks, I kind of had enough. I'm like, okay. So I was grounding in here. I'm like, all right. Because every time I went to ground, it would be like right here, like waiting. And so I'm finally, okay, come on. What are you? Who are you? And so in my sauna, I also have, it has lights in there as well. Okay. So I had the red light on in there. Okay. And so I had the lights off in here and the red light on in there. And so it makes the glass, it's kind of like a mirror at that point in time. Instantly, it was like I heard the voice, kind of like a spokesperson. And the image I saw on the glass, it was kind of weird. It was like, you know, back in the day when they had like the slideshows in school?
Yeah.
It was like that. But it was like picture after picture after picture of Native Americans. And it was like one after another, after another, after another. And it was dozens of them. And I'm just like, I'm sitting there and watching it. And they're all different. I'm like, who are you? Like, who are you? And the spokesperson said that they were in the river. I'm like right next to a river here. Well, I'm next to like an intersection of like 2 or 3 rivers. And I'm like, what do you want? Like, why are you here? And he said that they wanted to be, crap, what was it? They didn't want to be forgotten.
Oh.
And he wanted to tell somebody. And I'm like, okay, like tell me more. And so we chatted a little bit and I'm just like watching all these faces. And so I'm like, this is weird. I'm like, okay, I'm like, you are not forgotten. You're definitely not forgotten. And so I've told a bunch of people about this. So they're definitely not forgotten. Like, and I've reached out to a couple people in the Native American space too. And so they're definitely not forgotten. And after like this experience, I did some research. So apparently, where I live, there were several Native American settlements, like right where I live. And they're like a few hundred years ago, there were several disagreements between these settlements. So there were several raids. And there were like all along the riverbanks, stuff like that, several raids. So I'm like, okay, like, are these people from the raids? Like, but yeah, after that, like, after my conversation with them, you know, they said thank you. And then it was like 50 pounds got lifted, like instantly.
Off you?
Yeah.
You feel like? Okay.
And everything like cleared. But yeah, so it was very interesting. And so I'm still that happened like a year and a half ago. And I'm still like researching exactly like, was it from a burial mound? Was it from a war? Was it from, some sort of situation? And I actually just over Christmas came across a really weird connection, or a really weird potential connection, from burial mounds up north that got manually moved on a gas-powered boat from a Savage where I live, that docked 3 blocks from where I live. And so I'm trying to track that because it says, it talks about how much the captain was paid per removal. It doesn't say anything about what happened to them. And so in my head, I'm like, did he just dump them in the river? And so now I'm like trying to track, like piece those potential 2 pieces together. And that's where I'm at in my research for that.
Wow. Yeah.
And it makes sense because it was 113 of them that he had removed. And I saw several dozen faces come through. And they mentioned not being forgotten. So that one's still a work in progress for me. I just want to try and bring
the boat, you found out the boat docked by where you live, but there was never any mention of where they were actually ended up being moved to.
Yeah, so it's kind of weird in the information that I was able to find. In even like the footnotes, it says it was well documented what happened. And I'm like, no, it wasn't, because I can't find it anywhere. All that was documented was that it was a captain.
When did this removal happen?
In the early 1900s, so like 1904.
Oh, so he's not around to ask what he did with them. Okay.
No. I want to say it was like 1904-ish. But yeah, it was weird because like it came up because I was in my husband's hometown over Christmas, and I absolutely hate that town. Absolutely hate this. Absolutely hate it. And I'm like, okay, I've been here many, many times. I'm going to look up to find out why I might not like this place. And there's a lot of good reasons I don't.
What place is this? I'm sorry. What place is it
that you don't Falls.
Like? Okay. Okay.
There's a lot of good reason I don't like it.
Okay.
I found that in my research.
Okay.
And while I was up there, so the day before I kicked off my research, I had a woman come to the window, and she was kind of mad at me. And I asked her what she was doing there, and she said the only way I was ever going to get rid of her was to run her through. And I'm like, I'm not here for that.
And wait, hold on. Okay, I'm trying to follow. This is like a person?
No.
Or spirit?
Spirit.
Oh, okay.
Crazy neighbor.
Okay.
It was a spirit.
I was like, what?
No, it was a spirit. Sorry.
Okay.
I get so excited.
Okay.
No, it was a spirit that came to the window of the room that I was staying in.
Okay.
And I'm just like, what are you doing? And she was like, I'm not leaving. The only way you're gonna get me to leave is if you run me through. I'm like, well, you're a spirit, so that's not gonna happen, and I'm not here to do that. And she goes, why are you here? I'm like, I don't want to be here, but I'm here for Christmas. And she's like, okay. And then she left. And I'm like, what the heck was that? because it was a younger woman, and I've never run into her before at this place, and I've been here several times. I've run into other like crazy weird stuff in this place, but not this woman. But like I could tell like she would travel, or like she wandered the area. And she came up to me because I don't know why, but she thought I was there for like to get rid of her.
Ah.
And I'm like, I have no intention of that. Like, I don't care. Like, you want to be here, be here.
Right.
And so the next morning is when I started doing research. Like, why do I hate this place so much? But yeah, there's a lot of not the greatest things that happened up there. And that's when I came across the removal of one of the burial grounds and the connection to where I live now. And I'm like, that's a weird connection potential. And the fact that it was 113 people and the amount of people that I saw in like that little slideshow thing that I saw. And the fact that they docked 3 blocks from where I live.
Okay, so let me go back to the questions. I made that one about the burial ground thing into a question, several questions. And you probably have so many stories that we can ask about this.
I have,
But I think probably a better option, because I've got several of them here, is to go along the questioning lines that I started was, what is her origin, so to speak, in the universe? And what is she meant to do here? And why is she experiencing all this stuff?
mhm.
And then lots of follow-up questions from there. Oh, she came to blah, 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 blah. You know, why is she like, why is she such a magnet to these types of things happening, right?
I would,
Is she supposed to be doing something that she is not currently aware of?
I have a feeling that they're going to come back and say, oh, she's aware.
Okay, well, what do you think it is then?
I think it's part of the little cricket thing. I keep saying the little
Okay.
cricket.
Okay.
I'm so like I know there's more that I should be doing. I do. My heart of hearts. I'm working through it. I think one of the things I would really, if we have like time to get through it, is I'd like to know what more I can do to help. In my words, it's open Pandora's box.
Okay.
And like the images that I've had when I've been like grounding and connecting and asking my own questions is truly the opening of a box and like everything like coming out. Like it's a thing I've been dancing with for several years of my life. It's this line of, I know when I cross this line, there's really no turning back on like truly stepping into my own abilities, honing them in, accepting them, growing them, that sort of thing. I've been kind of battling with it.
So here's what I was typing it before
Like,
you said it. I typed, what more can she do to help, quote unquote, open Pandora's box and fully be who she was meant to be? She feels like there is a line, and once she crosses that line, there's no turning back. Does she have any hesitation or fear in crossing that line? And then you said that. I've been battling.
yes, I have. And it's like it even got to a point where like, oh, I would love to know if you're able to, if there's time in all of this. I know there's a lot of questions. Finding out who my like main guides are and guardian angels are.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Because there's one person I talk with frequently. For the longest time, they wouldn't tell me their name. Like it doesn't matter. Like okay, I'm okay with that if you're okay with that, like type deal. And then another point, they're like, well, it wasn't translated correctly anyways. Like like okay, like just tell me. And then at one point they're like, what name did they say? They go, Brad. I'm like, your name's not
Okay.
Brad. And they're like, it's not. I'm like, thanks.
So, how about who are her main guides and what is it that they most want to tell her to specifically guide her in her life right now?
That'd be good.
Yeah. And
Mm-hmm.
then okay, I'm going to make that into two questions actually. Who are her main guides? What can you tell us about them? And did one of them tell her its name was Brad at one point?
Yeah. It was like some random, and the way they said it was like,
Almost like, here, I'll just give you a name.
yeah. So it was like, it was some like kind of, it was some generic name, like Brad or like Chad, like something. I'm like, it wasn't that. And they're like, no,
Yeah.
it wasn't.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. But it's, I know there is one main one that I talked to. I have no idea really what their name is. But and I think there's several that
Okay,
come
I'm
and
sorry.
go. What?
No, go ahead.
Oh, I think there's several that come and go. Which I think is also normal. And
Okay. How else do we want to word? Oh, so let me just pause the recording for just a minute.
tied to like my guides and my guardian angels and just like
Okay.
the who are you
Okay.
and how can I get, I guess one of it is also how can I build a better how can I build better communication with them outside of them telling me to just listen.
So two-way conversation, do you mean? Or no?
um
Oh, you mean to hear more specific messages?
yeah, like to hear more discernible, like because I mean there's always sometimes like you're thinking about something and you're like, okay, well, I'm getting a message from someone, but then also like your own brain ticks in at the same time and you're like, oh crap. Okay, so part of the message was from them, part of it my own brain kicked in. Like how can I like get that line in there? I don't know how to word that though.
Well, I think, yeah. How can she build better communication with her guide so she can hear more specific messages from them and be more discerning? You think that?
I think
Or
more
am I missing
discerning is
something?
the bigger one.
Okay. And pick up. I mean, what do you feel like you're missing in the communication? Just maybe that'll help me word it better.
I think the piece that I'm missing is the overall confidence that
Oh, sorry.
during the communication, my own brain's not kicking in to try and fill in the gaps.
Okay. She wants the messages to be truly their messages and not her filling in the gaps.
Yeah.
Okay. Got it.
And if there's time, is there like time for some like a generic like I think there was a question on there, is there like additional messages or anything like that?
Yeah. So the last few questions I just put here are,
Mm-hmm.
do you have any other messages for her now before we end this session? And who wanted her to have this session and why? Right. And then if this person takes all the information from this session and incorporates it into her life, how will her life be different now compared to what it would have been like had she not done this session? Um, I mean, I'm looking back going, yeah, this is quite a few questions, but we might have time. I just think there might be, I mean, depending on what happens with all these questions about
Mm-hmm.
this stuff going on, there may be time for more. I don't know,
Mm-hmm.
right? But,
Yeah.
or we may just go down so many rabbit trails, right?
Yeah.
That it adds another 40 minutes onto your session, right? Like, I
Mm-hmm.
don't know where it's going to go, right? Because
Yeah.
this is new ground for me. I'm so excited. This has got to be super exciting to you to try to get some answers to this. And
Mm-hmm.
it's just crazy how like you called me, we talked like right when I had another cancellation, I was able to put you in because I'm like 6 months out
I know.
booked.
It was
So you were meant to learn what's going on sooner rather than later, I think, right?
oh, I just got a blue light. That was weird. Sorry.
A blue light where?
Like right here. It was weird. It was like a glow. That was weird.
Let me
Like
see.
super
Yeah.
bright.
Um,
That
when
was weird.
when her and I were talking, around 1:30 this afternoon, talking about how she got in to see me earlier because I had a cancellation
I'm like trying to
all of
see
a
like if I
sudden.
can like make it happen. Like
Okay. I asked, what was that? What was that about?
that was weird. It's not like a normal light that I see. Like when I do see like it wasn't like a normal like orby light unless like it was like right here. But like I'm like I'm trying to like recreate it to see if it was like a I don't have any neighbors that came or went either. It
Well,
was
we'll
like
ask what that was about.
really so I have my computer up on a white box here
Okay.
and it was like right below where my computer like on the box where my computer is sitting,
Mm.
like super bright, but nowhere else, just right there.
Ah, okay. Okay.
That was weird.
Okay, we're gonna pause it now.
Mm.
We're gonna pause it and we're gonna come back after lunch. So I'm gonna pause the recording so nobody else has to listen to our logistics lunch break. And the recording's on again, and my hands are just ashy and dry, so I'll put some more hand cream on. Cold weather, gotta love it, right?
Mm.
Okay. So did you think of any other things while you were out on lunch break that were just like, or did you have any other
Um,
questions written down?
so uh, over the lunch, I was letting my one friend know who recommended me to reach out to you uh, that I was on the break from the morning session. And it occurred to me that there's probably a significant thing that I didn't mention in
Okay.
the previous session.
Okay.
Um, so not only do I have like a lot of spirits and stuff around me,
Okay.
but I tend to seemingly have a lot of, I guess I'm around a lot when people like pass away.
I was just gonna say I knew where you were going. Die
So
when people die. Okay.
yeah, um,
Okay.
like I've been with a lot of people that have passed away. I've also been like the last person to be with a person who then passes away, like that evening, throughout the night, that sort of thing. And then much like the 2013, 2014 year, this last year has also been very similar. A lot of death in, oh gosh, what was it? It was 4, 5 in 3 months. Like from May.
You were with all of them when they died, or not
Um,
necessarily all of them?
I was not with all of them. I found one of them. I was close. So this time, like I found one of them, and then the others, I thankfully was like a bystander too. So, but like friends, family, I've been with them, like my grandparents, all of them I've been with. Like my grandma, I was actually holding her. Like I painted her nails, and I was the one that said, okay, you're all ready for your journey. You're all pretty. Because she always wanted her nails done. Always. Painted her nails up, put the nail polish away, came back, and she had passed on. Same with my grandpa. I told him that I would take care of his little dog, who's sitting in my hallway right now. He passed on. I was with my other grandpa, and that was a distressing one. Like that situation, I won't go into all the details, but I've determined I never want to be in a nursing home ever. Ever. But
I'm just convinced that those places are infested with demons.
Oh God, yes.
Infested. Whoa. Right. You can feel it when you walk in those places.
Yeah. Oh no, they roam the halls. It's gross. It's gross.
Yeah.
Same with my other grandma. So it's with my dad. It's like it's weird. It's weird. Even with like my sister-in-law, who I found this year, like I was with her, and like I was running up the stairs, and I ran into her as I was running up the stairs. Like it was weird. It was just weird. Like I didn't physically run into like her body, like her spirit was running down at me, and we collided. It was. So I tend to be around it a lot, to the point where like friends and family notice. Like
yeah.
What
do you mean they notice? Like what do they say?
Like it's kind of like a joking type thing. Like, oh, here comes Belinda. Like, watch out. Like, who's gonna die now? Type deal.
I was gonna say, you're kind of like the Grim Reaper, right?
That's kind of like the ongoing, like that's kind of like the ongoing joke. They're like, okay, who died now? Like, but it's weird. It's to the point where it's weird.
Okay.
It's strange. Where it's like, I don't know if it's just because I'm used to being around that sort of thing so much.
That they feel comfortable with you.
Yeah.
Maybe you're supposed to be in hospice care.
Oh,
like, you know, right?
Lord, I could never do that. Oh, my heart goes out to those people that can do that.
Right? I always thought it would be amazing. Like I could totally, if that was, like I almost wish that was part of my path, because I really think like I would really find a lot of joy, not in a weird way, but in that, and being able to be part of that, and trying to, you know, just comfort them and assure them and help them cross over. Like, I think that'd be really, for me, I think it'd be really awesome. But
I think that part of it, I think, would be very fulfilling.
yeah.
My mom did hospice work. She was a hospice nurse
Ah,
for several years. And every now and then I'd get to tag along with her. Um, I couldn't handle the other side of it, the family side, the
oh, okay.
situational,
And I never thought
um,
about that, right?
yeah, the situational grandma is a burden to us and we're just giving her a space in the corner until she passes on type situations. Grandkids coming in, stealing their meds. Like, I couldn't do that. No way.
Yeah,
I'd get too
I never
mad.
thought about
I'd
that part
get
of
too
it.
angry.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, I never thought about that part. Okay, anything else come up over lunch? I got that question. I added that question there
Yeah.
to your list.
Um, I think that was the big thing that came up was like, oh, yeah, I totally forgot to talk about this here. Um,
Is her sauna a portal? Mm.
it was kind of funny because I was talking to another one of my friends and like I know there's a lot of Native American spirits around here just because of where I live. Um, and they likened it also to like a what is it called? The not a steam room. Um, the where they have the huts, like the what are they called? Um, they go into these huts like the shamans and everything, and they're super hot and they're like kind of steamy, and they go in there for like visions and stuff like that.
I don't know. Well, what about the hut? What were you going to say though?
But they likened the sauna to that.
Who did? Your guides told you that?
No, one of my other friends, when I was talking to him about like what, like we were talking about why when I'm in there do people show up? Because it's kind of a weird, like I'm in there naked, like
You know, the problem is people are going to watch this video and home sauna sales are just going to go through the roof. So you might want to become an affiliate because people are going to be like, I want a portal like that in my living room. Like, wow, I can like communicate with all these spirits, but other people will be like, oh, hell no. Right?
I mean, a big piece of it is because that's where I do all my like I do like if I'm gonna like super 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 ground and connect and everything, it happens when I'm in the sauna because I'm super relaxed, I'm focused, I'm so that's why everything's drawn to that. Sweat lodge is what I'm
Sweat
thinking.
lodge. Yes. Yes.
But yeah, it's just I don't know. It's been quite a
What made you
journey.
want to get a sauna?
That's a really good question. Um, what didn't make me want to get a sauna?
And how long have you had it?
Of 6-ish years. Um, I know part of it was like muscle recovery. I do strongman competitions.
Oh,
So
okay.
I'm still training and lifting and all that sort of stuff. So part of it was recovery, like muscle recovery. Um, I like the idea there's light therapy in it too.
Yeah, red light, right?
So it has red, blue, green, and then a mix of all of them. So like you can change between them. Yeah.
Nice. Nice. Okay. Um, anything else you can think of? Did you have any questions written down before we got together of things you were like, I want to have this on my list?
I didn't have anything specific. Um, that wasn't already kind of like in that list of questions or anything that we didn't already cover that I can recall.
Were there any questions from that list that you wanted? Because we can't cover all those questions,
Yeah.
but were there
I think
any that you
we brought
specifically
them in
wanted?
because like the ones about like the AI, the Draco AI, the guides, all that sort of stuff.
Do we want to ask if there's any dark energies, dark entities, waywards, demons, curses, hexes, spells, anything like that affecting you?
I don't think I have any.
Negatively impacting you, I guess maybe is a better word.
I don't think I have any demons, negative spirits at this point. I did. I used
Okay,
to.
okay. Yeah, if that's not a question on your list, that's totally fine. Do you want to ask like what planet do you normally incarnate on and why are what do you like about that planet? Any curiosity questions like that? And I know one of the first questions we asked is kind of like what planet do you consider home? So maybe that'll kind of come as an offshoot to that.
I'm kind of curious, kind of like how long have I been around? I don't know. Is that one of the questions that you were already asking?
No, it's not on my list of what I was going to ask, but that's one on my regular list if people want to choose it. So kind of how I word it is if we take a timeline and put a brand new spark who just sparked off a creator on the left, and we put, and I know Jesus is not the oldest soul out there. I know that he's not.
Right.
But if we look at that kind of timeline with Jesus on one end and just because it's a little more relatable, right? On one end, because I can't even fathom the most ancient souls like that kind of timeline. I can't fathom that, like, right? But what if the answer could be for someone, which it's never been so far? Well, actually, I take that back. One person was, oh no, she's an ancient soul. They couldn't put her on a timeline, so I guess it has come up. And anything beyond Jesus is more ancient than I can grab in my mind, I think. But yeah, we can ask a question similar to that. So then maybe this is a chance for me to explore it and be like, okay, so what does that mean? She's a very ancient, like, you know what I mean? I can take it to that level. So give me 1 second.
It's one of those because like I've in my own space I've tried to like get in tune with that, and the only thing that I can ever come back to is essentially a long time, like a long time. I'm like,
Okay, let me explore that
cool.
then. Okay, I put that one on there. Awesome. Anything else before we get ready to put you under?
I think that should do it because I anticipate there's probably going to be a bit of branching off.
Yeah, I think there'll be a lot. Okay, so let's end it here. I'm going to give you a little bit of coaching after I turn the camera off. So we'll talk just a little bit before I put you under. Once you're under, that's when we'll come back for part 2. So that's when I'll hit the record button. I don't record the actual induction, but anyway. So goodbye to everyone who watched part 1, and yeah, nail biter. Come back for part 2.